Welcome to Dan's On Fandoms. I'm Dan. Man, what a fun one episode 3 was. I enjoyed it even more a second time through. Titled Replacements, this episode drops some nuggets of information as well as breadcrumbs that are hinting at things to come. Also, the scene with Crosshair on Onderon was gnarly. Crosshair is one brutal son of a bitch, huh? There's a decent amount to dissect with episode 3, so let's dive right into it. Obviously, spoilers ahead, so turn back now if you don't want anything spoiled. Let's first start with the scenes of the Empire. I enjoyed the scene we got on Kamino with Governor Tarkin and Admiral Rampart, who was introduced last week, as well as the scenes with Lama Su and Nala Se. We're seeing the early moments that are leading to the dismantling of the clone army and the eventual transition to a conscripted army. When we see Tarkin and Rampart speaking on Kamino for the first time, Tarkin asked Rampart about Project War Mantle. Project War Mantle was first mentioned in Rogue One, and it's essentially an initiative the Empire enacted soon after its founding that sought to fill out the ranks of the burgeoning Imperial Army with conscripted soldiers with the intent to depart from the use of a clone army. As Tarkin stated in the first episode and in episode 3, a conscripted army will cost the Empire a fraction of the cost of a clone army, so Tarkin, Rampart, and other Imperials are inching closer and closer to eliminating the need for clones. With that said, I wonder if we'll find out that Project War Mantle was also responsible for the creation of Death Troopers. In episode 3, Rampart introduced his first elite squad of Imperial trained soldiers, and we see at one point one of the troopers complaining about being poked and prodded by the medical droid. Death Troopers were subjected to a battery of physical tests and classified surgical enhancements, making them somewhat beyond human, and they were also required to meet rigid physical and ideological standards. The exam or test being done on Rampart's trooper could relate to the tests Death Troopers had to endure, and this episode really hammered home the notion that Crosshair is staunchly loyal to the Empire because of his augmented inhibitor chip. Furthermore, we saw Crosshair murk that trooper that disobeyed his orders to execute the rebels on Onderon, and Crosshair's helmet really looks like a Death Trooper's helmet, and he also has the physique of a Death Trooper. So yeah, I think we're seeing the creation of Death Troopers, and maybe Crosshair is going to be one of the first commanders of Death Troopers. If we're seeing the creation of Death Troopers, it's also possible we'll learn that Death Troopers had inhibitor chips implanted in them. Could very well be a possibility, me thinks. We saw more tests being done on Crosshair and his inhibitor chip, and since we know Death Troopers had some kind of surgical enhancements, I wonder if the implanting of inhibitor chips could be what those enhancements were. Speaking of inhibitor chips in Crosshair, we got more proof that Crosshair will eventually rejoin the Bad Batch, so our homeboy will definitely be rejoining the squad at some point. Inhibitor chips were mentioned multiple times this episode, and we also saw the Bad Batch talking about Crosshair, like when Omega found Crosshair's weapon kit, and Wrecker even said he missed him. At one point, we saw Tech was in the process of building a scanner to locate and research inhibitor chips, and Omega talked about how they controlled Crosshair and forced him to betray the Bad Batch. Omega even told Hunter later in the episode that they'll find a way to get him back. This is something I've speculated on previously, but I definitely think Crosshair will rejoin the Bad Batch. We're getting these moments early on that are already setting up him eventually rejoining the group, and I'll be all about that if/when that happens. Now, let's talk about Lama Su and Nala Se. What the hell are those two up to? We learned they're worried that Rampart's Project War Mantle will make the clones obsolete, so they're going to be creating some kind of new clone, but Nala Se stated Jango Fett's genetic material has degraded and is really no longer viable, so a new source has to be used. Nala Se used the word contingency, which is a word I associate with Sidious and his contingency plans, such as Order 66, and she also mentioned they'll need a direct source, potentially referring to the Bad Batch and possibly Omega if she's Force sensitive. Clearly, they're referring to creating a Force sensitive clone. The first thought that popped into my head was, are they going to be making someone like Galen Marek, aka Starkiller? Galen Marek was introduced in the Legends video game The Force Unleashed and was the secret apprentice and personal assassin to Darth Vader. At one point, after Starkiller had died, Darth Vader brought his body to Kamino and used it to create several clones of Starkiller. Dave Filoni, who serves as an executive producer for The Bad Batch, considered recanonizing Starkiller and thought about including him as an Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels, but that idea never came to fruition. I'm just speculating here and tossing around ideas, but I can't say I'd be opposed to Starkiller being reintroduced into the current canon. Either way, the Kaminoans are up to something, and I think it has to do with them creating a Force-sensitive clone. Speaking of Force-sensitive clones, we gotta talk about our homegirl Omega. We got some more hints she's special and probably Force-sensitive. We heard again that all of the clones of Clone Force 99 have special abilities, and it was stated on several occasions that she's a part of the group now, further alluding to her having special abilities. Additionally, while on her mission with Hunter to find the capacitor, we also saw her potentially connect with the Ordo Moon Dragon. However, prior to that, Omega asked Hunter if she could learn his ability to track, which sets up the possibility that she might not necessarily be Force sensitive, but could rather have a different specialty. Shout out to Ward Lafferty who pointed this out to me, but Omega has seemed to mimic the actions of several of the Bad Batch members and their abilities on multiple occasions. We saw her mimicking Hunter in the first episode. She took the chain code discs to bring to Cut Lawquane and his family instead of Tech in episode 2. In this episode, she wanted to learn Hunter's tracking abilities. While my money is on her being Force sensitive, there's also a possibility that her enhancement allows her to mimic or take on the abilities of others that are around her. We'll find out sooner or later, and I'm very excited to find out what exactly her enhancement is. Also, how great was the scene at the end where Wrecker showed her the room he made for her. Wrecker even gave her his Lula. Heart-melting moment right there, guys. Going into this series, Wrecker was probably my least favorite of the Bad Batch, and he's quickly becoming my favorite. Also, while Wrecker did hit his head during their crash landing on Ord Mantell's moon, I'm inclined to say his head was hurting due to his inhibitor chip. I also like seeing Hunter and Omega's mission to find the capacitor at the same time that Crosshair's mission on Onderon transpired, and you saw Omega choose empathy and compassion to not kill the Ordo Moon Dragon, where Crosshair and his squad showed no such compassion towards the rebels. All in all, this was a fantastic episode, and I cannot wait for Friday, guys. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on replacements? Let us know down in the comments. If you like this video, please help out the channel by hitting that like button and making sure you subscribe. Follow the channel on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Dan's On Fandoms. Thanks for watching, and stay nerdy.